Big show here for Sunday's action. We have all 13 games. Before we get into just a couple of things, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Free NFL picks. We're updated all season long. Free picks every day from all the major sports. We also have college football, NBA, NHL, MLB, and more. It's a good time to subscribe. And also, if you would support our channel, just with that thumbs up, we greatly appreciate it. Then visit Tony'sPicks.com, our multi-capper site showcasing top cappers in our industry. Click the link. The hot cappers get signed to one of their long-term passes. You'll find our premium picks here on the center of the page here. And some of our hot cappers, by the way, like Mindy, Ben has been hot, Ramon, Nick, Paul, Tiffany. Click the links to get signed up to long-term passes. You'll find our latest premium picks here on the center of the page. Our best bets as well. Each capper can release one best bet per sport per day. Many of them are up there right now. $15 picks. Well, each capper can designate one of their picks from their card as a $15 premium pick just to showcase their service to new and existing clients. Check them out right now. Many of them list their best bets as a $15 pick to make a good impression. 3-packs, very popular feature. Check them out as well as our pick ticker. If you're looking for individual play, you can find them on our pick ticker. Of course, our promo code, you can save 20% off all premium pick packages. When you use that promo code TonyT at checkout, you can access our page by clicking the link in the description. Click the All Cappers tab, get signed up. Always love to hear from you guys, so post your picks in the comments below. We are looking for cappers, so you can apply over at Tony'sPicks.com down in the footer section. And by the way, every pick is in podcast form over at Tony's Picks Podcast on all major platforms, so check it out there if listening is a little easier than watching the videos. All right, let's go ahead. Let's get this one started. Broncos and Jaguars NFL pick here for Sunday. Game will be played in neutral field in London, England. Denver right tackle on offense out. The linebacker out. Jaguars have healthy starters on both sides of the football. Denver fell to 2-5 after their 19-6 home defeat to the New York Jets. Broncos gained 324 yards with 105 rushing here in that game on 28 carries. They limited the Jets' pass attack but allowed over 5 yards to carry on the ground. Brett Rippon was under center for an injured Russell Wilson. The veteran Wilson returns on the year. Wilson career lows here. 58% completion, 7.2 yards per attempt. Jacksonville, they fell to 2-5 with their 23-17 home defeat to New York Giants. Jaguars gained 452 yards in that loss, 142 on the ground on 21 carries. Defensively, the Jags allowed 6 yards per rush to the Giants with 200 yards passing on 30 attempts. Trevor Lawrence, 51% completions in the loss with 7.2 yards per attempt. On the year, Lawrence, 63% completions, 9 touchdowns, 4 picks, 6.9 yards per attempt. Jaguars doing a better job in pass protection. You know, Denver giving up 3 sacks a game, highly penalized team. Broncos defense are putting pressure on opposing quarterbacks, averaging 3 sacks a game. Broncos tended to the under when they're lying in these kind of close line games between +3 and -3. The play will be Denver, Jacksonville under 40.5. Bears and Cowboys NFL pick Sunday. Chicago will be without their left tackle on offense and a corner on defense. Ezekiel Elliott doubtful for the Cowboys. Wide receiver Brown, tight end Schultz, and the right tackle questionable. On defense, they have a linebacker questionable. Chicago, they're now 3-4. They get the 33-14 road win at New England on Monday night. Bears gained 390 yards in that one. 243 rushing on 45 carries. Defensively, they limited the Patriots to 70 rushing yards and 190 passing on 28 attempts. Justin Fields, 62% completions in that game, 8.5 yards per attempt. This season, Fields, 56% completion rate, 7.7 yards per attempt. Dallas, well, they improved to 5-2, a 24-6 home win to Detroit. Cowboys offense gained 330 yards, 139 rushing on 32 carries. Defensively, they allowed under 5 yards a carry to the Lions with 195 passing yards on 26 attempts. Cowboys did register 5 sacks. They forced 5 turnovers. Dak Prescott, 76% completion rate in his return, 8.3 yards per attempt. Now in his 2 games, Prescott, 61% completions, a career low, 6.3 yards per attempt. Short week for the Bears. Chicago's running for 5.2 yards a carry, and the Cowboys allowing 4.4 yards per rush. Now Chicago holding teams just 19 points a game. The play here will be Chicago Bears at +10. Patriots and Jets NFL pick here Sunday. Wide receiver Aguilar Their center and tackle questionable for the Patriots. On defense, a starting safety out with the linebacker and corner questionable. Jet receiver Davis out with a left tackle questionable. Their starters on defense healthy. New England fell to 3-4 after their 33-14 home defeat on Monday Night Football here at the Chicago Bears. Patriots offense produced a season low 260 yards, 70 rushing on 19 carries. On defense, they limited the Bears' passing game but allowed 243 rushing on 45 carries. Mac Jones, returning from injury, went 3 of 6 for 50 yards and an interception. On the season, Jones 65% completions, 2 touchdowns, 6 picks, 7.8 yards per attempt. Jets 5-2 after their 16-9 road win at Denver. Jets produced a season low 260 yards, 155 rushing on 24 carries. Defensively, they limited the Broncos' ground attack to just over 3 yards to carry and gave up 219 yards passing on 46 attempts. Zach Wilson completed 61% in the win, but a season low 4.7 yards per attempt. On the year, Wilson, a 57% completion rate, 6.9 yards per attempt. He has only 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. Now, over the past 3 games, the Jets are averaging just 286 yards a game. Patriots 6-0 against the spread after getting outgained by 100 or greater yards. The prior game play here will be New England at -2.5. Dolphins and Lions NFL pick here for Sunday. Miami starters healthy on offense. On defense, a defensive end and cornerback questionable. Detroit receiver Brown and left guard questionable. On defense, the left defensive end and free safety out. Miami improved to 4-3 with their 16-10 home win of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Dolphins gained 372 yards with 111 rushing on 27 carries. Defensively, they limited Pittsburgh on the ground but allowed 246 passing yards on 44 attempts. Tua Tagovailoa here in this one, 50% completions in the win with a touchdown and only 7.5 yards per attempt. On the season, 67% completion rate, but a career high 8.6 yards per attempt. Detroit 1-5, a 24-6 road defeat at Dallas. The Lions tied a season low from the previous week, gaining just 312 yards, 117 rushing on 25 carries. On defense, they allowed over 4 yards per rush with 191 passing on 25 attempts. Lions committed 5 turnovers. Now, Jared Goff, 81% completion rate in the game, 2 interceptions, 8.8 yards per attempt. On the year, Goff, 62% completions, 7.5 yards per attempt. At home, the Lions have played to over in all 3 games by gaining 443 yards and giving up 468 yards. Dolphins defense on the road giving up 270 passing yards with 9.9 yards per attempt. Offenses here on the road here. Miami averaging 407 yards per game here for them on the road this season. AFC versus NFC game usually favors the offense. They know what they're running. The defense is not that familiar here with the receivers. Play here Detroit and Miami over 51.5. Raiders and Saints NFL pick here for Sunday. Receivers Devontae Adams, Matt Collins, and tight end Darren Waller are questionable for Las Vegas. On defense, a linebacker and safety questionable. New Orleans receivers Thomas and Landry out. Tight end Johnson and off guard questionable. On defense, the Saints right corner out in the left corner questionable. Defensive tackle also questionable. Las Vegas now 2-4 after their 38-20 home victory to Houston Texans. Raiders moved the football for 400 yards, 164 rushing on 27 carries. On defense, they allowed over 4 yards per carry with 296 passing yards on 41 attempts. Derek Carr, season highs here, 78% completions, 8.9 yards per attempt. He threw for 241 yards and a touchdown. On the year, Carwell, 63% completion rate, 7.2 yards per attempt. New Orleans 2-5 after their 42-34 road defeat at Arizona. Saints generated 494 yards, 85 on the ground on 22 carries. On defense, they allowed 4 yards a carry to the Cardinals with 189 passing yards on 29 attempts. Andy Dalton, 64% completions in the loss, 4 touchdowns, 3 picks, 7.7 yards per attempt. On the season, the veteran has 63% completion rate, 7.2 yards per attempt. Now, the Saints defense has allowed 30 or greater points the past 3 games with 5.7 yards per rush. In this period, the Raiders are running for 6 yards a carry. The play here will be Las Vegas -1.5. Cardinals and Vikings NFL pick here for Sunday. Running back James Conner, left guard and center out for Arizona. Their left tackle questionable. On defense, a linebacker out with a corner questionable. Vikings starters healthy on offense. On defense, a defensive end questionable. Arizona improved to 3-4 with their 42-34 home win in New Orleans. Cardinals gained 326 yards with 137 rushing on 29 carries. Defensively, they held the Saints to 4 yards, but gave up 409 passing yards on 49 attempts. They did pick off 3 passes and return 1 for a touchdown. Kyler Murray, 69% completions with the touchdowns and 7 yards per attempt. On the year, Murray, 65% completions with season low 5.9 yards per attempt. Minnesota improved to 5-1 after their 24-16 road win at Miami as they hit their bye week. Vikings at season low 234 yards, 78 rushing on 17 carries. On defense, they contained the Dolphins' run game and allowed 385 passing yards on 47 attempts. Minnesota had a +3 turnover margin. Kirk Cousins, 67% completions in the win, 2 touchdowns and 5.8 yards per attempt. This season, Cousins, 66% completion with an 8-year low, 6.6 yards per attempt. DeAndre Hopkins, second game back for Arizona, and Murray, a huge target. But the line here opened Minnesota -6 and moved down to -3.5. Vikings have won every home game this season and come off a bye. That's too much of a line move. You got to take the home team here. Play here will be Minnesota -3.5. Panthers and Falcons, NFL pick Sunday. Running back Chuba Hubbard out for Carolina. On defense, a linebacker and corner questionable. Falcons healthy on offense, but on defense, a corner and safety out. Carolina sits at 2-5 after a 21-3 home win to Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Panthers gained 343 yards in that one with 173 rushing on 27 carries. On defense, they stuffed the Bucs ground attack and allowed 276 yards passing, but on 49 attempts, P.J. Walker completed 73% of his passes, 2 touchdowns, 8 yards per attempt. On the year, Walker, 70% completions, 6.8 yards per attempt. Now, Atlanta, they fall to 3-4, 35-17 road defeat at Cincinnati. Falcons, a season low, 214 yards, 107 rushing on 29 carries. Defensively, Atlanta allowed just under 4 yards a carry with 459 yards passing allowed on 42 attempts. Marcus Mariota, 61% completions in the game, but only 124 yards passing. He had a touchdown pass, 9.5 yards per attempt. Season to date, Mariota, 61% completions, 7.9 yards per attempt. Now, the Falcons' past 3 games, they've averaged just 254 yards, giving up 3.3 sacks a game. While on defense, they're surrendering 434 yards with 369 passing and 72% completions. The play here, Carolina +4. Steelers and Eagles, NFL pick Sunday. Pittsburgh starters on offense healthy, on defense and defensive end out, and TJ Watt still out. Eagles healthy on both ends of the field. Pittsburgh 2-5 after their 16-10 road defeat at Miami. Steelers did gain 341 yards with 95 rushing on 23 carries. On defense, they held the Dolphins to 4 yards per rush with 261 yards passing on 35 attempts. Kenny Pickett completed 73% of his passes, a touchdown and 3 picks. He did throw for 257 yards, but only 5.8 yards per attempt. On the year, the rookie at 68% completion rate, 2 touchdowns, 7 picks, 6.1 yards per attempt. Philadelphia comes off the bye at 6-0 after their 26-17 home win to Dallas. Eagles a season low, 268 yards in the win, 136 rushing on 39 carries. Defensively, they allowed over 5 yards per rush with 181 yards passing on 38 attempts. And that was behind a backup quarterback there. Jalen Hurts completed 60% in the victory, 2 touchdowns and a season low, 6.2 yards per attempt. Past 3 games, the Eagles offense averaging 342 yards with 4 yards per rush and only 6.3 yards per pass attempt. Steelers have covered the past 2 as sizable underdogs. The play here will be Pittsburgh at +10.5. Titans and Texans, NFL pick here for Sunday. Ryan Tannehill out for Tennessee. On defense and defensive end, questionable. Texans receiver Collins out and a right guard as well. Receivers Brandon Cooks and a left guard here questionable. Tennessee is 4-2 after a 19-10 home win to Indianapolis. Titans gained 254 yards in that win, 138 rushing on 35 carries. Defensively, they limited the Colts' ground game and allowed 227 passing yards on 44 attempts. Malik Willis has thrown 4 passes in mop-up duty in his rookie campaign. Willis has struggled in the preseason, choosing to run instead of patiently looking for open targets. Houston moved to 1-4-1 after a 38-20 road defeat at Las Vegas. Texans a season high 404 yards, 108 rushing on 23 carries. Defensively, the Texans did surrender over 5 yards per rush, 236 passing on 27 attempts. Davis Mills completed 68% in defeat, 7.4 yards per attempt. He had 2 touchdowns, a pick, and 302 passing yards on the Raiders. The second-year QB on the year is completing 64% of his passes, 6.5 yards per attempt. The Texans giving up 165 yards for rushing and 5.2 yards to carry. Would expect Tennessee to lean on Derrick Henry on the ground attack in this one. I think it's okay for Willis to run in a regular season game. It's just that the preseason they didn't like that. Player will be Tennessee at a pick 'em. Giants, Seahawks, NFL pick here for action on Sunday. Receivers Metcalf and Lockett questionable. Their right guard questionable as well. On defense, and linebackers questionable. Giants left guard and right tackle out. On defensive linebacker out with defensive end questionable. Giants move to 6-1, a 23-17 road win at Jacksonville. Giants move the football for 436 yards with 236 rushing on 39 carries. Defensively, they did allow nearly 7 yards per rush, 310 yards passing on 44 attempts. Daniel Jones completed 63% in the game, a touchdown, 6.7 yards per attempt on the season. Well, Jones is completing 67% of his throws, 6.5 yards per attempt. Now, Seattle improved to 4-3 with their 37-23 road win at LA Chargers. Seahawks gained 404 yards with 213 rushing on 34 carries. Defensively, they stuffed the Charger run game and allowed 276 passing yards on 51 attempts. Geno Smith, 74% completion rate in the win, 7.8 yards per attempt. On the year, Smith, 73% completions, 11 touchdowns, 3 picks, 8 yards per attempt. New York has won 4 straight. Seahawks defense giving up 399 yards, nearly 5 yards to carry on the ground, 7.3 yards per attempt. Giants getting good production with their run game with 5.2 yards per rush. Smith's targets in the passing game are banged up. Play here will be New York Giants +3. 49ers and Rams NFL pick. This one goes off on Sunday. Wide receiver Deebo Samuel out for San Francisco with receiver Jennings questionable. On defense, their defensive tackle and linebacker out. Rams starters healthy on both sides, and they are coming off the bye. San Francisco fell to 3-4 with a 44-23 home defeat to Kansas City Chiefs. 49ers season high 444 yards, 101 rushing on 21 carries. Defensively, they allowed over 5 yards a carry with 417 yards passing on 36 attempts. Jimmy Garoppolo completed 67% of his throws, 8.2 yards per attempt. He threw for a season high 303 yards. He had 2 touchdowns and a pick. On the year, Garoppolo, 64% completions, 7.9 yards per attempt. Rams 3-3 as they hit their bye week with a 24-10 home win to Carolina. Rams gained 360 yards, 111 of it rushing on 29 carries. Defensively, they held the Panthers to over 4 yards a carry with 110 passing on 21 attempts. Matthew Stafford, season high here, 79% completions, 7.7 yards per attempt. This season, Stafford career high 71% completion rate, 6 touchdowns, 8 picks, 7 yards per attempt. 49ers have lost 2 straight as the defense allowed 28 at Atlanta and 44 at home to KC. Rams coming off the bye healthy on the offensive line and get back Jefferson, a wide receiver. 49ers are banged up on the defensive side and on offense too with the key player Samuel out. Play here will be the Rams +1. Commanders, Colts, NFL pick Sunday. Wide receiver Dotson out with tight end Thomas and a right guard questionable for Washington. On defense and middle linebacker out. Colts starters are healthy. Matt Ryan benched. A defensive end out and corner questionable here. Washington improved to 3-4. A 23-21 home win to Green Bay. Commanders put up 364 yards in that game. 166 rushing on 38 carries. Defensively, they limited the Packers' run game to just 38 yards and allowed 194 passing yards on 35 attempts. Taylor Heineke, 60% completion rate in the win, 6.1 yards per attempt. He threw for 201 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick in his first action of the season. Indianapolis fell to 3-3-1 with their 19-10 road defeat at Tennessee. Colts gained 292 yards, 65 of them rushing on 17 carries. On defense, they allowed nearly 4 yards per rush, but only 116 passing on 20 attempts. Sam Ehlinger to start for Indianapolis, a 6th-round pick in 2021, had first-round aspirations but plummeted in the draft. But great numbers in the preseason, going 10 of 11 for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns in preseason game 1. In game 2 of the preseason, 9 of 11 for 136 yards and 2 touchdowns. Game 3 of the preseason, Ehlinger, 24-29, 289 yards. Play here in Indianapolis, -3. Packers and Bills, NFL pick Sunday. Receiver Lazard out for Green Bay with a left tackle and guard questionable. On defense, a linebacker is questionable. Buffalo right tackle Brown is out. On defense, they're healthy. Green Bay fell to 3-4 with their 23-21 road win at Washington Commanders. Packers posted a season low 232 yards with 38 rushing on 12 carries. Defensively, they allowed over 4 yards a carry to the Commanders with 198 passing on 33 attempts. Aaron Rodgers' 66% completion rate with a season low 5.5 yards per attempt. He threw for a season low 194 yards and 2 touchdowns. On the year, Rodgers' 67% completions, career low 6.5 yards per attempt. Bills come off the bye at 6-1 with that 24-20 road win at Kansas City. Bills gain 443 yards in that one, 125 rushing on 31 carries. Defensively, they limited KC on the ground and allowed 319 yards passing on 40 attempts. Josh Allen, 67% completions in the win, 3 touchdowns, 8.2 yards per attempt. On the year, Allen, 67% completions, 17 touchdowns, 4 picks, a career high, 8.3 yards per attempt. Bills have covered 8 of 9 against the NFC. Packers have lost 3 straight and held to an average of 270 yards a game. At home, the Bills outscoring teams 79-10. Just not getting in front of them here. Play here will be Buffalo minus 10.5. All right, that was our NFL pick show here for Sunday, guys. Make sure to like, subscribe, set notifications. Visit our site at tonysbits.com by following the link below and get signed up to one of our long-term passes, and our best bets are right there too. Remember our podcast, Tony's Picks on all major platforms. You can get every pick in podcast form if that's more convenient for you.